Yeah. I always say that we had the lag, and I say we because we shared that journey together. We had the lag to be involved in the sport industry, but watching it from point of view of big tech platforms. And the most interesting thing about working in a tech platform for me, at such a scale, first Twitter, then Meta, was that you realize that people and product decisions are made not on intuition, they're made on actual user behavior. And when Instagram, when Facebook, when TikTok, when they release a product, it's because they've seen a behavior in the users, and they want to give a better answer to that behavior. And having seen throughout our career that shift that you were mentioning from traditional linear TV consumption to a different type of consumption where interaction is key, has been a very, very, very interesting journey.
Absolutely. And to your point, like our shared background at Twitter, right? If you're watching the game, you're tweeting, right? If you're not watching the game, that is a great moment to bring people who are not watching the game to go watch the game, right? The challenge that we need to collectively solve as an industry is how do you make that access simpler, right? More simple. And because there's just so many subscriptions and cable bundles and all that, we make it very complex for our fans, right? There was a news article or an op-ed, written by a former ESPN writer, June Lee, that wrote that if you wanted to follow every game and every team and every sport, an American in a year would have to spend an average of $4,280.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And so no kid's going to spend that, right? And so one of the things that we don't talk about enough is piracy, right? Piracy is not the inclination to steal. It is also a reflection of how hard we make it for fans to access content, right? And so you've seen that evolution happen in the music industry.
Yeah, I always do that comparison between the sport and the music industry. I think now in sport, we live in the same thing that the music industry lived 25 years ago. Absolutely. When Napster came out.
Yeah. And the positive of piracy, if I must say, is that it's a signal of interest, right? Yeah. People want to watch, like to a point where they want to take it, wrongly take it, right? But this is something that we have to just get real as an industry. Is like, how are we combating that? And one of the ways to really combat that, yes, is to secure your stream, but more importantly, is like, how do you make those streams much more accessible, right? And so, in reflection, and this is no reflection of any business decision of the big distributors out there, but when Messi came into this country, right, and started playing for MLS, his time at the MLS is finite, right? And so how are you making Messi's content much more accessible rather than putting it behind a paywall, right? And so one idea that I've always been very passionate about, and I know that Cristiano Ronaldo did this with the Saudi Premier League, is making some of his games, the Al Nassr games, available on Cristiano's 200 million Instagram followers. I don't know exactly how many millions he has, but it's in the hundreds, right? And so that's very creative. It kind of breaks the model that currently exists, right? And so, again, when live sports is now moving from linear to streaming, right? The legacy television networks now all have streaming platforms. We also have to rethink what the fan consumption experience is. And that kind of leads to, the current company that I'm at called Transmit. I, was involved very early on in the founding of it as an advisor, investor. The CEO and founder is a good friend of mine. And one of the things 8 years ago that really appealed to me about the product is that it was building monetization products for the streaming future.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning, it was very hard to get traction because in no way are you thinking about an NFL game being exclusively on a streaming platform. But 2 playoffs ago, NBC Peacock decided to put an AFC wildcard game exclusively on the Peacock. Yeah. What did that do to the subs? It increased their subs by 2.8 million, right? And so when you're kind of thinking about new formats, okay, a lot of leagues, networks, even regional sports networks, which is very unique to the US, they were really kind of bundled up in the cable model. And all of a sudden, those economics are rolling away. And so a lot of these entities are now going direct to consumer. But what we are quickly learning, and we should always know about this, is that subscription growth takes time, right? And so there's an opportunity cost of moving it off a cable and going direct. Yeah. And so that is a very painful transitionary process, right? I'll give you a very U.S. focused example. The Utah Jazz, right? Their local rights, AT&T owned. And AT&T were paying the Utah Jazz $20 million a year for the right to broadcast the Utah Jazz within the state of Utah and then the surrounding states. AT&T no longer wanted to be in the sports regional sports rights business. So they said, you know what, we're no longer in. And so that was a $20 million gap. Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Jazz, decided to take his team direct to consumer, Jazz Plus. Their first season, they had 20,000 subs, right? And again, I'm doing unfair math, and these are all public numbers. But say that the season pass is $125, and say that all 20,000 subscribers paid for that, right? Going from 0 to 20,000 in the state of Utah is also an accomplishment in itself. But if you're doing straight math, that's $2.5 million. You're used to getting $20 million. Now you're getting 2.5. And so there's a $17.5 million opportunity cost, right? Now replicate that across all the teams, the networks, the leagues. You're starting to kind of see the implications here. And again, streaming is a great idea and it's the path of the future, but you also have to really think about the subscriptions are going to take time. What we do at Transmit is we are a video software company that layers on top of live games to create these natural moments where we can create more ads. That is very native to the platform. And they are addressable and tailored and targeted. So Kike, you and I can be watching the same PSG Real Madrid game. But when a goal happens, you see a Heineken ad and I see a Mercedes ad, right? Because just like no Amazon homepage is the same, right? You and I are very different, right? And so we have then kind of rolled this out utilizing AI to say, for every walk in baseball, Johnny Walker has an ad that says keep walking, and so we can fit a lot of very contextually relevant, and I'm talking about picture-in-picture video ads, right? Soccer or football is tremendously difficult to monetize, right? You have pregame, halftime, postgame, right? And so when there's a VAR review or there was a water break because it was so hot in the semifinals of the Club World Cup between PSG and Real Madrid. There was we're doing a water break brought to you by Powerade. That was like on the field, it was announced, right? And I'm kind of thinking, what is the experience that is happening, on television? And more likely than not, that they're going to try to fit in a 30-second spot or a 60-second spot, right? And sometimes it's not perfect, right? But how great would it be if Powerade was sponsoring that water break on the field, that you see a picture-in-picture of, you still see the activity that's happening along on the field, and then you see a Powerade ad. Why? Because you're going to have less tune-in. You're not going to get up and go to the kitchen and grab a bottle of water or go to the bathroom. You're going to stay focused with there. So higher ad recall, better brand effectiveness, right? Advertisers are willing to pay a premium cost for that. It's video, right? It's very contextually relevant. And I think that's the future. And what Transmit has been building for the last 8 years has been building for that streaming first future, because I truly do believe that the television spot model is going to go away. And we're going to see a lot more integrated native ads that are video format that make sense, that are very tailored to you and I.